I still remember the smell of burnt charcoal and cheap beer when I pulled into my father's driveway. At first, I thought I had the wrong house. Cars lined the street. Music blasted. People were laughing. Then I saw it, a giant banner stretched across the garage. "Goodbye, freeloader. Don't come back." And underneath it, my family. Smiling. Celebrating. My uncle raised a drink and shouted something that made the crowd laugh. My sister threw something at my car. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just stood there and took a picture. Because in that moment I already knew. 2 weeks later, everything would change. I wasn't supposed to be there long. Just 10 minutes, maybe 15. Grab my last box, avoid eye contact, and leave before things got awkward. That was the plan. But the second I turned onto my father's street, I knew something was wrong. Cars lined both sides of the road. Music echoed through the neighborhood. Laughter, loud, careless laughter, spilled into the evening air. For a moment, I actually thought I had the wrong house. Then I saw the driveway. Grills smoking. People gathered. Drinks in hand. And above the garage, a banner. Bright. Huge. Impossible to ignore. "Goodbye, freeloader. Don't come back." I stopped breathing. They weren't just having a party. They were celebrating me being gone. My uncle stood near the patio, raising a drink, saying something that made a group burst into laughter. My sister spotted my car and smirked, nudging someone beside her like I was part of the entertainment. Even a few neighbors were there, watching, whispering. I felt every eye turn toward me as I stepped out of the car. No one tried to hide it. No one tried to stop it. My father stood near the grill, flipping burgers like this was just another weekend. He glanced at me, just once, then looked away, like I didn't matter enough to acknowledge. That hurt more than anything. I didn't say a word. Didn't argue. Didn't give them what they wanted. I walked past them, grabbed my last box from the garage, and came back out. Before leaving, I pulled out my phone and took a picture of the banner, and all of them smiling underneath it. Then I got in my car and drove away. They thought that was the end of me. It wasn't even the beginning. My father has always been the kind of man who measures worth in results. Not effort. Not intention. Results. Growing up, everything was about achievement. Grades, awards, titles. If you didn't have something to show, you didn't matter. And my sister? She fit perfectly into his world. Straight-A student, corporate job by 24, the kind of person he could proudly talk about at every family gathering. Me? I was the opposite. Not because I didn't try, but because I didn't follow his path. I wasn't chasing titles. I was building something slower. Something uncertain. And in his eyes, that made me a failure. For the past year, things had gotten worse. Every conversation turned into a lecture. Every dinner into a reminder of what I wasn't doing. It didn't matter that I was working, saving, planning. All he saw was that I wasn't where he thought I should be. Then came the argument. It started small. It always did. But this time, it didn't stop. He said I was wasting my life. I told him he didn't understand it. He said I was living under his roof with nothing to show. And then he told me to leave. Just like that. No discussion. No second chance. I packed what I could that night, left the rest behind, thinking I'd come back quietly and get it later. I didn't know he'd turn it into a spectacle, a celebration. But what hurt the most wasn't the banner. It wasn't the laughter. It was realizing they truly believed I was nothing. What they didn't know, I wasn't lost. I was just getting started. What they didn't know was that I had been quiet on purpose. For the past 8 months, while they were judging me, I had been building something they couldn't see. Late nights. Early mornings. No announcements, no big speeches. Just work. I didn't tell anyone, not even friends. Because I'd learned something the hard way. People don't believe in progress they can't measure. So I stopped trying to explain it. Instead, I focused. The project started small. Something I worked on between shifts, after everyone else had gone to sleep. At first, it barely moved. A few dollars here, a small win there. Nothing impressive. Exactly the kind of thing my father would have laughed at. But I kept going. And slowly, it started to grow. Not fast enough to impress anyone, but steady enough to change everything. By the time he kicked me out, I was closer than anyone realized. I just needed a little more time. And that picture I took? That wasn't just a reaction. It was a reminder, a snapshot of exactly where I stood and exactly where they believed I belonged. Every time I looked at it, I felt something shift inside me. Not anger. Clarity. I stopped thinking about proving them wrong. I started thinking about proving myself right. 3 days after I left, I checked my account. The numbers had changed. Not dramatically, but enough. Enough to tell me this was real. Enough to tell me I wasn't crazy for believing in it. And for the first time since that night, I smiled, because I knew something they didn't. I wasn't coming back. Not the same way they expected. And then my phone rang, and everything accelerated. I stared at my phone for a few seconds before answering. Unknown number. Normally, I would have ignored it, but something told me not to. Hello. Hi, is this? The voice on the other end said my name carefully, like they weren't sure they had the right person. I've been trying to reach you about your submission. My heart skipped. Submission. For a second, I couldn't speak. Yes, I said finally. There was a pause, then, we'd like to move forward. Everything went quiet. The room, my thoughts, even my breathing. All I could hear was that sentence replaying in my head. We'd like to move forward. Months of work. Doubt. Silence. And now, confirmation. They explained the details, but I barely processed half of it. All I understood was this. It was real. By the time the call ended, my hands were shaking. Not from fear. From relief. From certainty. That night, I sat alone, staring at the photo I took in front of my father's house. The banner. The smiles. The way they looked at me like I was already finished. I realized something then. I didn't need to argue with them. Didn't need to explain myself. Because soon reality would do that for me. Over the next few days, everything started moving faster. Emails. Confirmations. Numbers climbing. Momentum. The kind you can't fake. The kind people notice whether you tell them or not. And that's when I made a decision. I wasn't going back to confront them. I wasn't going back to prove anything. I was going to let the truth reach them on its own. Because when it did, they wouldn't be laughing anymore. It started small. A missed call from my sister. I ignored it. Then a text. Hey, can you call me when you get this? No attitude. No sarcasm. That was new. I didn't respond. An hour later, my uncle reached out. Need to talk. It's important. I almost laughed. Important? Now, it was important? I put my phone face down and kept working. But the messages didn't stop. By the next morning, there were 7 missed calls. 3 from my sister, 2 from my uncle, and 2 from my father. I stared at his name on the screen longer than I expected. Then another message came in. This time from him. Call me. No explanation. No anger. Just different. I still didn't answer. Instead, I opened my laptop. Because by then, things had already started shifting. The project I'd been building? It wasn't quiet anymore. Numbers were climbing fast. Faster than I'd planned. What used to be small wins had turned into something visible. Something public. And apparently something they had seen. I don't know who told them. Maybe someone recognized my name. Maybe someone connected the dots. Or maybe they finally paid attention. But whatever it was, the same people who laughed that night were suddenly very interested in me. By the afternoon, my phone rang again. My father. I let it ring once. Twice. 3 times. Then I answered. There was no shouting. No commands. Just silence for a second too long. And then his voice. Lower than I'd ever heard it before. I think we need to talk. 2 weeks after that party, he wasn't celebrating anymore. He was calling me, like he needed something. I met him 2 days later. Not at the house. Not anywhere familiar. A small cafe across town. Neutral ground. When I walked in, he was already there. He looked different. Tired. Smaller somehow. Like something had shifted. He stood up when he saw me. Didn't speak right away. Just stared. I made a mistake, he said finally. No anger. No pride. Just quiet. I sat down across from him. Waited. I shouldn't have done that, he continued. The party kicking you out like that. I thought.
He stopped.
Like, even he couldn't finish it. For a moment, I saw something I hadn't seen in years. Not authority, not judgment, regret. I can fix this, he said. You can come back. We'll figure it out. I nodded slowly, then shook my head. I already did, I said. He looked confused. I figured it out without you. Silence fell between us. Not heavy, just final. I stood up, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I was leaving. I felt like I had already moved on. Some people only respect you when you rise. But by then, you don't need them anymore.